Dynamic 3i Release 3.2. Here we're going to demonstrate the extensive drill down capability within the General Ledger module. In this demonstration we're going to do an inquiry on a particular account number, for instance branch 1, account 101. Now for this purpose we're using a very simple 3-digit account number, single segment account number. General ledger account numbers, of course, can be many segments long and each with a different meaning. So we've picked account 101, which is cash in the bank. If we wanted to look at, and here we have 3 years of data that would appear on the screen in terms of the time buckets. For 2004 fiscal year, we've got from period 6 to period 12, and for fiscal 2005, we have from period 1 to period 8. Presumably period 9 has not been started as yet. And the same thing applies for any of the buckets for all 3 of these years. If we wanted to do an inquiry on any of these numbers, these amounts, all we have to do is click on that amount. For instance, if we wanted to check what made up this $12,888.44 in period 4, all we do is click on that particular amount, and that will take us to a screen that will list all of the transactions that made up that amount. There's the total of the transactions, the $12,888.44. Okay, with the opening balance of the account for that period and the closing balance. Now here we've got a list of all the transactions, and in this particular transaction the AP tells us the source is AP, which is the accounts payable module. Each module that generates automatic transactions within the package has a code like that. And the transactions could originate from the order processing module, the payroll, purchasing, asset management module, accounts receivable, accounts payable, or it could be just a general journal entry. And in this case we have all of the transactions on this particular screen originated from accounts payable. So if we wanted to look at the particular journal, for instance, let's say we wanted to look at this Allstream Corporation amount of $345. If we click on the journal number, this will bring up the complete journal on which that particular Allstream transaction appears. And there it is, and it took place on the 16th of September, and it was against accounts payable and cash in bank. Now if we wanted to look at these transactions, and there of course is that amount we were looking for, the $345.11. So that particular amount appears on this particular transaction. If we wanted to view that in a slightly different way, say we had many more transactions like this and wanted to isolate a particular amount or look at it in a different way, there's a number of ways to sort these transactions. For instance, it's now in branch and account number sequence. If we wanted to look at it in vendor number sequence, then all like vendors would be together with their amounts and the transaction for that one. We could also sort it for ease of searching for something in document number sequence. And now in this case the document number, since these transactions came from the accounts payable module, would be either a check number or an invoice number from the payable side. So there we have them in document number sequence, and we can also look at them if we wanted to isolate an amount, look at them in ascending number sequence with like amounts together. So there they are in amount sequence with the 229s together, the 1676s together, and so on in ascending order. Now if we get out of this particular program and we go back to that previous screen that listed all the transactions that made up that total amount, we can also look at the actual document source of the transaction. So again, at that Allstream transaction, if we click on that document number, it will take us to a screen that will show us what originated that amount. So there we go. It tells us it's Allstream, the bank account, the bank came from the Canada Trust. It was a check. There's the check number, the date of the check, the amount of the check, and the fact that it was reconciled and therefore cashed on the 24th of September, and then the batch number if this was issued as from a batch of checks. If we wanted to look at the detail of the actual invoice that resulted in this check being issued, we click on the invoice number, and that will take us to a screen that displays all of the relevant information for that accounts payable invoice number that was issued, for which that check was issued. So again, the vendor was Allstream. There's the invoice number there, the invoice date and all the relevant information, the invoice amount, the due date, and down here we have the actual general ledger transactions, or the accounts to which that total amount of $345.11 was posted to, and $22.58 went to the goods and services tax payable account, and the balance to the telephone expense account. Again, while we're in the screen, if we wanted to look at the payment details, we can click on the payment details button over here, and it'll bring us up the information about the actual check that was issued as a result of entering this invoice. And there it is again. It was due on the 15th of September. The amount of the check, there was no discount, there's no comments on it. It was automatically generated through the accounts payable module. The date of the check was the 16th of September. There's the check number, and the status tells us that it was cashed and has been reconciled against Bank 1, which was our TD Canada Trust Bank. So closing out of this and going back, exiting out of this as well, we're back now to our total list of transactions that made up that amount for period 4. Now, this list of transactions and these drill downs would apply regardless of whether the transaction was a general journal entry or it came from the accounts receivable module, asset module, payroll, payables, purchasing. Anything that would generate a general ledger transaction would appear on this list. So if we go back, and from our drill down, we're back to our buckets. Now we can inquire on any of these 3 fiscal years, as long as, of course, there's the totals are there, that there were transactions for those particular periods, and we can drill down to view all those transactions that made up those totals. So this is an example of the drill down capability within Dynamics 3i Release 3.2.